Welcome. I'm Brian Stevens. We do have a pretty fast paced. Those that know me know it's always going to be fast paced. I do want to thank the National School Board Association for co-sponsoring this with us. They're a great organization. I was hoping that I would be presenting this in Chicago. We'd have a lot more time to do this, but we've got what we got, and we're thankful for those that want to learn. And so thank you so much for being here right now. You may want to write that email address down and werecruitstudents.com in case you need the slide deck in the future. We'll send it to you. I'm going to go fast. You don't have to take a ton of notes on this, but we'll send you the slide deck if you need it. So I just kind of want you to understand how I go with these things. So still got a lot of people, they're going to have to play catch up, right? Because I value the time of everyone here. So um, I know, right? This is not me. Look at this lunatic, right? This is a crazy man. But I find this guy's name is Applewhite, and I find him to be such a curious guy. I was in the Army when I first got exposed to this to Applewhite and Heaven's Gate cult, and it had a really profound impact on me because well, let me frame it for you really quickly. I'm sitting there. I'm in the military. I got a little TV over in the corner, and I see this image come across the screen of these people, and they're in black jumpsuits, and they got Nike tennis shoes on. Nike, I guess they were sponsored by Nike. The Nike tennis shoes always struck me, and they're all deceased. It's all these poor souls have well, they committed suicide, and it was just it's sad. But that's really not the point of anything that we're talking about today. Is that how did this lunatic, and this guy's a lunatic. If you're ever bored during the coronavirus and you want to be entertained, Google Applewhite Heaven's Gate cult. This guy's a crazy person. And this lunatic managed to convince 39 people that there was a comet, Haley Bob comet was passing by the Earth. And he convinced them that there was a spaceship behind it, a spaceship. You couldn't see it, of course, because it was hidden. And they were going to take some drugs, kill themselves, and ascend to the back of this spaceship and go off to their home in outer space. So now I was in the Army, and I was having a hard time getting my troops to show up to physical fitness training in the morning. I mean, I was struggling with this as a leader. I wasn't communicating well. I didn't have a great plan. And this lunatic, I'm not going to teach you today how to be a lunatic, but it shocked me. So don't worry if you're just joining us. You are in the right place. We're going to talk about this topic of how do you protect and grow your reputation during these like trying times right now. And it's just this lunatic that kind of jumped out at me as a fundamental flaw of communications tools and kind of led us to where we are now. So I'm supposed to give the complimentary disclaimers. We all know about what's going on out there. I'm not going to have 8 minutes of talking about the coronavirus. I hope you're safe. We're safe. We're great. Let's move on. I'm not trying to be unsensitive about it. I just really want to get to the information that you came here for today. And if you're new to this, and thank you so much for the NSBA to co-sponsor this, you'll find that I go real fast. We'll send you the content. It's a lot to digest, but we're going to bucket it out in really clear, simple steps so you have some action items to go for. Trust me, I'm going to give you action steps on what to do with this cat going forward. So I'm supposed to introduce myself. NSBA told me to do that because we have new visitors. They're right to say that. I'm Brian Stevens, Case of Public Strategy, and we have a specialized communications company. We run campaigns for traditional public schools, higher ed, and governments, things like that. But in the school space, we only represent traditional public schools. You have to pick a team because we run recruitment and retention campaigns for schools, and we help them with more complex communications, not the typical day-to-day communications that is really what this is a lot about. You got to do all those day-to-day communications. They're really vital. That's not what we do. Hopefully you've got great teams to do that. I'm sure you do. I'm going to run through the material in 40 minutes flat. So we're going to keep a high pace. I'm an old soldier and a lawyer, and that's just kind of the way I educate. But we are a special niche communications firm, and with offices in Memphis and DC. And I think, Chase, that's got to be enough, right? Let's get to it. So my objective when we originally built this course was to hit two fundamental things that in order to help you increase your student body and retain students, which is really the ultimate goal, right? I mean, you've got to provide great education, but that's not the space we can help you out with. I'm sure you're already doing that. But we had these two big buckets. We're working with a lot of school systems, higher ed, and some municipal governments about creating a really flexible 18-month plan right now. And I say the word flexible because I don't want you to create what we call like credenzaware plans that, you know, they gather dust by sitting on shelves. That's not, we don't do those kind of plans at all anymore, even without the current pandemic going on. So these flexible plans that can adjust as the ground shifts underneath your feet right now are really, really important. And a lot of organizations are already doing that. A lot of school districts are already doing that. And the second thing, and just as vital, is you've got to communicate in a way that lets people know what you're doing. You can't just, nowadays, you've got to just press and push all this information out to let people know how awesome you are and all the great things you're doing. And so you've got to have those two fundamental parts. In preparing for today, really the main focus, I had to pick one because I don't have time to get into both of them today with you. And right now, most of the questions we're getting are around how to communicate out what we're doing. I'm going to assume if you're on this, you're in the middle of building a plan, you may need help. If you do, reach out to us. And I should pause just really quickly. Chase is in here. And if you need to email us, once again, Brian at Case of PS, you can put Chase, C-H-A-S-E at the front of that, or, you know, connect with your NSBA representative and we'll get that slide at the end. But I want you to ask questions and you can hit the questions button. Chase, on this go to webinar, where's that? It has a question mark button, right?
It's a question mark, or you can do the raise hand.
Okay, so you can raise your hand. You do this and you'll be able to figure it out. I'm sure we're all deep into the technology world right now.
Well, we'll get to them afterwards. If we don't get to them during the webinar, we'll
okay.
get back.
So I want to answer your questions. I want to create a dialogue. I'm going to keep running really fast. So I had to pick a subject out of these two buckets that I could get deep enough with you to bring value today. And based on what we're hearing, we're talking to districts about, it's really this communication bucket that we're going to focus in. How do you build a strong reputation? How do you share the world what you're doing, what you're planning to get in a way to build your reputation so you get more students, retain students, higher morale, all that great stuff. So that's what I've decided to focus on. We can get into the planning one if we want to do another one of these in the next couple of days, or you want to call us out individually. So just to give you an example, we're working with a district out of Texas, and they had a flexible plan. We were working with them a little before all this occurred, and for about a year actually before all this occurred. And they put out on their plan, I wanted to get this right, so I've got notes in front of me, that they started getting laptops. They did an online learning. They got a TV station to donate online learning time. They conveyed that out. So they had a plan. They were flexible. They implemented it. I know everyone's struggling with different ways to do that right now, but that was what their plan was. Maybe not right for you, but that's what they decided. But then what they did is they started really communicating that, not just to the parents, but also to the future parents and the future caregivers and to the community at large. And it's starting to really build a reputation as the go-to organization, the pinnacle organization to provide education. So that's really what that's my goal for you. That's always my goal. I want you to be awesome, do the right thing, and I want you to communicate in a way that lets everyone know it, right? It's not hubris. It's just what the world requires. So I can only focus on this one today. So this was another picture I dug up. This I guess my point of showing that if you type in cult, this is the first picture you're going to get. This is one of those crazy people again. I will call them crazy. I don't mind calling. I don't want you to become a cult leader. But it's funny that the fundamental leadership qualities that cult, if this guy can do it, if this guy can get all these women to marry him and follow him and do crazy stuff, what would a great leader do? What would an actual, like a real leader? I hate the word cult leader. They're cults, lunatics. I want you to be a great actual organization, a leader in your space. And what are the steps that these lunatics use, and how can we use them as regular leaders to influence and motivate people to follow us? And that's always my goal. Well, the key is actual real leaders use these same steps I'm going to go over with you all the time. There's 7 fundamental things that you should always be working on as a leader to grow your organization and to communicate that message out to get more people to follow you. I mean, like, for good, not for evil, right? And so I'm not trying to teach you to build a cult for evil. I'm going to teach you how to build like a really strong foundational group of people that will be there for you in times of thick and thin, right? So I hope that makes sense. The cult leader is just kind of a fun way to look at it. And you can definitely do better than this lunatic here, right? You're already doing better than this lunatic. I want you to sell it, right? So I think sometimes people are like, oh, a cult. Well, for good, not for evil. Okay, good. There's my disclaimer. All right. So fundamentally, this is the last slide. I'll talk about goals, and then we're going to get into the 7 steps. This is John Maxwell. This is Brian Steve. This is John Maxwell, great leadership expert, tons of books. He kind of developed the pinnacles of like the leadership levels of leadership thing that a lot of people bogart. Is like positional leadership is because you're in charge, they have to follow you. That does not create a strong, loyal base of followers. It just doesn't do it. And I think back to my time in the Army, had this captain when I was a young officer, and he's the kind of guy that he probably would have been shot in the back in like war because he was a terrible leader. And I make that in jest, but not really. I mean, bad leaders in position, people that are just positional leaders get shot in the Army, in the military. In the real world, people just try to take away from you, nitpick and gossip and do things to destroy your reputation. I want you to rise on this and to become the pinnacle. I am quite certain the people that are taking the time out of their time to learn right now, you ain't in that positional leader. You're somewhere above it. But I need your entire organization, your entire school system, your entire college to become the pinnacle in your space for growing and training young minds. Like, that's our job. And you've got to really enact these 7 principles. Right? You're not going to do them all perfectly, but you need to start focusing on a few of them and get them moving, right? All right. So I digress. I think I'm on track for time, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. I said earlier, I can't get through the planning slide, so I'm skipping all this. It's good stuff. I can't do it. So we're going to jump really right back into the 7 fundamental steps you need to do to build a really strong, motivated following that will be with you thick or thin. And that's the goal, right? And I use the cult things as kind of a joke. Another one, I don't have time for all the stories I tell you today. God, I want to though. I really want to be entertaining, but let's get right into the meat. Okay. Number one thing a cult leader, an actual leader will do is that now a cult leader will create a new reality. That's what a cult leader does, like this whole fake reality. Now, I'm not going to ask you to create a fake reality, right? What I'm going to ask you to do is to create an actual reality. So a cult leader would like take their people out to like an isolated farm, and they can't talk to their friends and family, and they self-censorship and all this really wacky stuff. You can't do that. I don't want you to do that. Here's what I want you to do then. I want you to sell what you're doing right. I'm going to say it again. I want you to sell what you're doing right. I want you to start focusing on the good apples, on the good. I'm not going to tell you not to fix the things that aren't going right. But we were working with a school system a few years ago, and it just broke my heart. The leadership team was just, they're frazzled. They're getting beat up in the press, the parents, the charter schools coming in the area. It just wasn't going well. And I said, okay, let's start focusing on what's going right, and let's start conveying that. And one of the people, leadership people, seasoned veteran, said, we don't have anything positive. We don't have anything good to talk about. That wasn't true, and they didn't really mean it. They were just so beaten down, and so like in their fishbowl of listening to the trolls and the people that just I call them dragons, the people that want to burn everything down, and then when it's time to rebuild the city, they fly away, right? So like these dragons and trolls that are out there, is they were so beaten down, they just didn't have a positive message to convey. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. And we started presenting the positive things. We started finding, with the communications team, and they go, there are good things, but all too often we focus on the bad instead of the good. So I want you to start selling and promoting what you're doing right, that you've got a plan, that you have a plan to focus, good test scores. Little Jimmy or little Sunethra got to go to this college or that college, and they got great grades, and there's always something good. I know there is. So I want you to focus on the good and not always the bad apples. All too often, and this is part of psychology, I don't have time to get into psychology, is that we'll focus on the 10, 15, 20% of things that aren't going right. And we really, really, really focus on it. You can do that all you want. But I want you to communicate focusing on the good stuff, the 80%, right? Go fix all those problems, focus on the good, focus on that. And you got to stop with the gossip. You got to get your teams to get on board with you. Is that I need them to start focusing on you. People will dwell on the negative. It's just kind of a human nature thing. So step number one, focus on the positive and start selling what you're doing right. All the time, every single day, you're doing stuff right. Don't get so distracted with Corona-19 that you're not talking about what you're doing right. You've got to do it now more than ever. So, all right, this is a good tool. So if we were together in Chicago and I was presenting to you, we'd do a little breakout session right now. And I want you to take this back to your teams if you haven't done this already. And I want you to write down 3 message points. Each message point, we call it the 3-2-1 message system, is each message point can be no more than 21 words. And they should all be about what's going right, all like positive selling messages. And we'll kind of get into how to do that more. But 21 words is about 14 seconds, which is an elevator pitch, right? So you got 3 little elevator speeches you developed. And everyone, from the person that's teaching the classes to the chief of staff to the crew that's cleaning the grounds and mowing the lawns, everyone should know these. They should have them memorized, and this is where they should be focusing. This is what they should be selling. And that all of your other marketing material should be focused around these 3 things too. And if you want to get into the importance of this, I do an entire course on how to get this message across. It's very difficult, and you have to have as leaders patience. You're going to be exhausted and bored conveying these 3 talking points, and your audience is just going to start listening. So don't get bored with the message before your audience has heard. Okay, so I want you to go, work with your team, have them write those 3 things down. They should be on your website. They may already have done it, but this is a really important little activity. Okay, my team is a little frustrated right now with some of my slides I picked because we're in social distancing too, and we have an office in Memphis, an office in DC, and we got people working from home, and I got some people they're out west working with some people, so they've got little satellite offices, and I had to do this myself, and so you get these kind of kooky photos and stuff. The team would have made it look a little bit more professional, but I'm more worried about the content. So our next action item, our next thing, number 2, this is the second big step. A cult leader is going to set themselves up as the only ones with a link to paradise. So you've got to connect with this crazy Applewhite dude because he's going to get you on the back of that spaceship on the Hell Bob Comet, right? He's the only way to do it. Like, I can't do it. He's the one that can do it, right? So how do you start to set yourself up as the link to paradise? And what is paradise? Like, for me, none of my paradise is in here. I want to be like in the mountains, like in the woods or something. But so whatever that person's paradise is, but I'm going to give you a really pro tip. I know what the paradise is for parents and caregivers. So secret information, right? So here's what a cult leader is going to do. They're the only ones with the keys to typically to some, afterlife type thing. But you've got to tap into what is paradise for your targets, your parents, your caregivers, the ones that are making the decision to keep the students there or take them away. And that should be the focus. But we know what their version of paradise is. So we do, I'm not going to read you these slides, don't worry. I'm just going to give you the highlights. Is that we do an annual survey asking parents, what's the main driver that makes you choose a school? Are you thinking about leaving schools? Are you thinking about staying? What makes you become a stronger advocate for the school? We do a lot of testing. We take all these polls from all these different municipalities and rural areas, put them together into one big report. And there's one driver. It's before we actually go into a school district, we do a poll that's just in their location to make sure this data fits with them. A lot of school districts are a little unique, but these are still pretty commonplace. And so the main driver in the United States for a person's view of paradise is, will my child succeed in life? Well, one of your 3 main talking points ought to be, we're going to get your children prepared to succeed in life. And then you can have all the ancillary data that supports that proposition, right? So you know that this is their version of paradise for the child is my child is successful later in life. At least 81% of the parents put this in their top 3. So 18% say it's their number 1 choice, 66% more say it's your top 3. So 81% say that the number 1 driver is that my child will be ready to succeed in life. Wow. So that's their version of paradise. So unlike a cult leader, an actual leader is going to figure out what their people want and make sure they're conveying that. Now, I bet you already knew this. I bet you already knew your job was to get a child to either go to college, or if you're in college, to get them to graduate and get a job. You knew this already, but are you conveying it? Are you saying that you're the best, you're the right place for these children to be at to get them to that goal? If you're not communicating it, you can't expect them to guess. And all too often, I think we kind of just assume that people know that that's what our jobs are. Your job is to communicate that out. It's got to be. And if you start to do that, you'll build this reputation of you are the pinnacle. Remember Maxwell's leadership. You're the pinnacle to make these child be successful. You're the pathway to get that done, right? And so that's kind of how this starts to all connect, right? So I hope this number 2 really has deep impact for you, right? All right. So Chase, I'm looking at Chase. He's smirking at me right now. He blacked out number 3, and so he's got this live feed that he can kind of mess around with my slides a little bit to keep me on edge. And he's whispering to me right now that some of the school districts that he connects with and that we work with a lot are they're being kind of funny right now to you.
Usually we can see people's faces and see if we can trust them, but I don't know if we can give them all and trust them right now.
So Chase is saying, and look, he's really doing this for time. He doesn't think I can get through all 7 today, but you can't use these for evil. So we're going to keep this 3rd one safe and protected until you convince us that you're not going to use it for evil, but only for good. Because this that's funny, Chase. That's funny. You want to make sure they use it for good, not for evil. So I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to keep moving. You're kind of a smart aleck. That's funny. Okay. The next one. The next rule, this is 4 because we skipped 3, is this, man, North Korea's got this down, right? Keep turning out stories about the greatness of the leader. Kind of connects with that build your own reality. Kind of connects with the second point was, you're the link to this, but you've got to do positive press. And cult leaders will make unbelievable stories. They can all this crazy stuff. I don't want to get into that, but what will actual leaders do? This one's always difficult for me as a leader. I do not like talking about the past. I do not like talking about awards. I do not like talking about past successes. I only look to the future, and I get real bored with hubris. I get real bored with people that are always pounding their chest. You need it. This is a mistake that I make. Don't make it. You've got to stick to the truth. Can't exaggerate. Can't make up facts. Don't do any of that. You know that. But you've got to allow your team to keep putting out how awesome the district is. This really connects with that new reality. So in this particular one, if you're not getting op-ed pieces placed, if you're not getting interviews, especially the superintendent, chief of staff, some faces about that, principals, about what you're doing right, that reality, and how awesome they are. If you're not saying that, man, look how many awards we got. Look how, I know that you're going to focus on that 20% of test scores that didn't go right because you're educators and you want to do the right thing. And that's why we work with traditional public schools. I know you want to do the right thing. And I want to make sure that people know you're doing the right thing. And you're going to focus on trying to fix that 20% that's not going right. Meanwhile, you've got to let your team highlight the stuff that's going right. And you've got to make sure you have a plan, like a calendar, and you're constantly putting out things that are awesome. Awards. You got to go find them, man. You got to go seek them. You need people doing that all the time. So don't just skip this because maybe you're just into your mission of educating kids. You can't educate the children if they all go to homeschool. And this is a real problem right now. I mean, we're tracking this data. I'm not going to get into it right now, but we're tracking these homeschool organizations, not just charter schools, but they're like, you can come here. You're going to be safe. You're going to be protected. You're not going to get the virus, and we can teach you how to do it. Well, they're out there doing their jobs. I need you to talk about what you're doing right now, about how awesome your plans are. I think we make the point on this one. And of course, if you got questions, jump in there, follow up with us afterwards. I'm going to check my time. I think I'm on track. Okay,
We're good.
25 in. I'm an old soldier. I really value your time. I want you to come back. So we always go fast, but we'll send you the slide deck if you want. Oh, okay. The next rule is this is a, for you artist buffs out there, this is an historical painting. I'm not going to bore you with it, but basically, a woman did not want to convert somebody to her religion, and this is the story of a wise elder statesman in that particular religion saying, look, it's not their job to understand what we do. It's not their job to get it. It's our job to go sell. It's our job to convert them. It's our job to get them on board with us. And all too often, I'll find leaders who are like, well, they should know. No one's responsible for knowing anything. It's your job as a communicator to convince them. It's your job as a communicator to get them to understand. Now, I'm not talking about like children in the classroom. They signed up. That is their job. But the community at large and these decision makers, you've got to ask. You've got to actively ask. And so here's the rule: is a co-leader is going to use converts to bring in more converts. And if you're bored and you want to go to lunch when all this is over, all the manipulative things they do is crazy. I don't want you to do any of that. You don't need to do any of that. The key, though, is what an actual leader is. They make the ask. They ask the people that are supporters of theirs to share their message and to convey their message and what they're doing right. And I think about PTO organizations, parent-teacher organizations. I think about even teachers unions. I think about teachers associations. I think about any group. You've got to ask them to push out what you're doing right. That new reality, the greatness of the organization, not just the leader, but the greatness of the organization. You can ask them to project and to push that out. If you don't make the ask, they won't do it. And you can't just expect them to. So here's kind of a breakout session we would do. I'm going to actually give you something that is like an action item for this. I think you ought to ask every school in your district, every principal group, what can they do to get the parents, your ambassadors, to get more people to show up? What are the 3 things that they can be doing to share your story and what's going right? I mean, this is going to be really important for our last point too. It's a real action item to keep them involved and engaged, but you've got to, it could be a little bit different ask for every community. Some people are not going to go door to door. Some people are not going to do flyers. Some people are not going to post things on social media. You got to find out what's right for that group. So in those little microcosms, you've got to figure out what are the things that people can be doing to sell what you are doing, right? So I might go too fast on that. If we get questions, I'll take it. But there's 2 things though that are really fundamentally important about this converts. And one is the duty of loyalty. And I'm not talking about blind loyalty. I'm not talking about, I don't expect your teams not to complain to you, not to say what's going wrong, but I do expect them not to convey that to the outside world. I have a trouble with this. We really try to exercise radical transparency here, where people tell us what's the problem. I want to hear all that so we can fix it and be better. It's like 20% of the stuff that's not going right. But to the extent they convey it to outsiders and they lessen your reputation, you need to stop it. And I'm very serious about that because it's a real problem, especially nowadays where people don't know what's going on. They're not getting enough information. They're not. I don't care how much you've communicated what you're doing. It's still not enough. People still have vacuums of information, and they fill that vacuum of information with really bad stuff. And it's just nature. You can't help it. It's locked into their DNA. So if you find somebody that's conveying bad things, gossip, I really had stopped the gossip earlier too, is you got to expect a duty of loyalty, not blind loyalty, but they got to understand that their job is to rise the ship. That's the way it's got to work. So be careful about this. Now, this ask. Chase asked me to write down the word micro commitments. We use micro commitments like little teeny ask to get people to stay at schools or to transfer to your school. We use little teeny asks. So think about like a car dealership. They're going to do a lot of little asks to get you to the big ask. Right? Do you like this leather? Do you like this color? Do you like this type of sedan? Do you like a 4-door? Do you like a 2-door? All these little asks, all leading you to say yes, 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 yes. And then they hit you with the big ask, sign on the dotted line. And so when you're asking your PTA, your parents and your teachers, what they convey. It could be really small little micro ask that starts to build. Be cool with it. It doesn't have to be a big ask. You know, don't ask for $1 million. Ask for them just to post what you're doing. That's a real easy ask for people to do. So these micro commitments, I know there's a lot of science in each one of these buckets. I'm a real nerd. We've got a lot of actual anthropologists and scientists here to play on this. So the micro commitments, just remember, small ask, but make the ask. I think that's the big takeaway here. All right. So the sixth rule, I've got a few minutes to get through the rest of this. I'm going to hustle, is you got to, I love the Brits when it comes to like a stressful situation. Keep calm and carry on is what they say, right? Well, keep calm, keep everyone busy. Like that's the trick. So what a cult leader is going to do, they're not going to allow people to sleep. They're going to do long sermons. They're not going to allow any critical thought. I mean, just wear people out. Don't do that. Okay, don't make people not sleep. But the Army uses a version of this, which is if you're leaning, you're cleaning. So you see a private soldier sitting around where you can pick up a broom. And the point of that is that idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I need you to reflect upon this. If you're in this, I know your teachers are busy. I know your administrators are busy. That's really not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about like the parent-teacher organizations. Maybe it's about some of your stuff. I don't know how busy you are. But if they're not busy converting more people and pushing out your message, they're going to get busy nitpicking. They're going to get busy tearing you down. They're going to get busy taking away the reputation. You got to give everyone a mission. Conveying those top 3 message points, those top 3 3-2-1 message system we talked about earlier. That's a great mission. Can you just get this message out? Then can you get the second one? Then can you get the third one up? Then rinse and repeat, right? Is it if they don't have anything to do, you better get them something to do or they're going to become a problem for you. And it all goes back to the people don't have an inkling that when they're not busy, their mind goes into bad places. Have you ever noticed that when you're really busy, everything's going right, but when you're not, you just can't get as much accomplished? Well, that's true for everyone. Okay, I'm telling you, it's true for everyone. So gotta find ways to keep everyone moving. And right now, COVID-19, you better let people know what's going on. You better over communicate. You better give them some action items. You know, if I know your teachers are at home. Well, I don't know what the workload. I know we can legally do and have them not do, but if they are working, keep them busy, right? Idle hands are the devil's workshop. So make sure you've come up with those things that people can do to help bring on more converts. So that's really what this little busy thing is about, right? Okay, this is Chase telling me that I'm officially out of time and I need to wrap it up and maybe get to a question or two.
Yeah,
he deleted. Yeah, okay, so he deleted number 7. But here's the thing. I could talk to you about all 7. I don't need you to do all 7. What I need you to do is pick one of the, I guess we did 5 today, 5 in 33 minutes. 5. I need you to pick the 5. Pick one and get that better. Don't look for perfection, just get it better. Then pick another one and get that better. Don't try to eat the whole elephant, right? So, you know, narrowly tailor for big results. I do love this. I want you to understand the goal, and here's some of the action items, which is I want you to rise as the pinnacle. That's our mission. I want to communicate in a way that creates like more followers for you. I love this 3-2-1 message system. A lot of organizations get too bored with their talking points too quickly, and there's an old rule in politics, which is when you've given the speech 100 times, the audience has just started to listen. So that's true of everything, and people just get so much information out. Really succinct your argument down, simplify, and then get it out. You can have a lot of supporting information that proves that those 3 main talking points are the truth, but you've got to shut up and make it fast and simple if you want to grab people's attention. People are busy right now. They're stressed about other things. I talk about these micro commitments. I want you to make the ask right now. I think a lot of school districts that we've come across, and even some universities, I don't know, they just won't make the ask. And I want you to make the ask to bring on more people. I think people like to be asked to do things. It makes them feel special. And so it's cool. It's okay. You can make the ask, right? And that kind of falls into this 5 things you can ask a parent to share out right now. If they're sitting around at home, you might as well get them on board the team, right? So I do want to thank the NSBA for co-hosting this. We're going to be partnering up with them, I hope, more in the future. I know I went really fast. I value your time. I want you to come back. There's my email address. I don't know where it is on the screen. It's somewhere. Email me if you want the full slide deck. We'll get that out to you, and we're going to have a recording that we're going to punch out on our email list. I think we've got time for one or two quick questions. If,
All right,
if you got it.
We've got time for two.
So
micro commitments. When somebody wants to know, when do you start micro commitments? Like what's a good time to?
Oh, the problem is with my dumb analogy of the cars, right? So a car salesman has got to get you in like right then. They got to do all these little micro commitments in a really short period of time. Micro commitments should be like evergreen. They should constantly be going on with people. It should always be making, look, you don't want to overburden. You don't want to wear people out where they stop taking your phone call. But weekly, monthly, if groups get together quarterly, you should always have an ask associated with that. Every communication should have an ask. Hey, please feel free to share this information. If you like this, share it. So you should always have a little ask peppered into everything you do. That won't be overburdensome. It just won't be. So it's not about 100 asks in one short period of time. It's stretch. So when we run a recruitment campaign, it can be anywhere between, somebody might get 3 micro commitments in 1 week from us, like one parent, if they're really responsive, or it might be over 8 weeks. I don't know what exactly the right rhythm is, but I do know that it's kind of constant pressure. All right, so let's do one more and then we'll let everyone get out of here.
You talked about starting with one step. What step do they choose?
Oh, so which of these 5 fundamental things to build your strong reputation should you pick? I don't know. I don't know you. I mean, I kind of see some of the people that are on, but I think your team can pick one that you could kind of get started immediately. I would want to pick one that you can start to get done immediately. So whatever you feel like is the lowest, easiest, just to get things started. Or you may be doing something and you're kind of just half baking it. I get it. You're really busy with a lot of other really stressful situations. But can you go to your team and say, can we just push this up a little bit more? Can we talk a little bit? Can we get a little bit more op-ed pieces out there about how awesome our plan is going forward with the COVID-19 thing? Can we push that out a little bit? Can we get one more op-ed? Can I do 2 interviews on a radio station or a talk show this month? Those are easy just to kind of get the ball rolling. So, and then don't pick the others. There's a real secret in the word priority is not a plural. You're supposed to only be able to pick one. So pick one, get that rolling, then pick another one. Have a little patience, but constant improvement is what we're looking for right now. So I am at 11:39 on my watch. I wanted to be done in 40 minutes. I know I went fast. I really appreciate you. If you do have questions, you can email or call us. Email is probably the fastest thing right now because we're all over the place, but we are very responsive today. And thanks to the NSBA, I really appreciate it. We're going to go by now. And so if you do have any questions, give us an email. I hope you enjoyed it.